A late Friday decision by U.S. President Donald Trump rolling back tariffs.
Trump is removing some tariffs. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, Donald Trump has been forced to remove some tariffs. It's a surprising thing here. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got Tariffs posting Ecos polling data here, so nothing to take anything serious. Look at this. 204 seats for the Liberals, 110 for the Conservatives. This comes from this original poll here, which showed 44% for the Liberals and 32% for the Conservatives. As this one says here, according to Ecos, Conservatives polling 5% lower in Alberta than Ontario. As it shows here, this is obviously garbage data trying to sway public opinion. Mark Nixon picking this up and remodeling this out. Latest Ecos poll, 343 seats for the Liberals, 0 for everyone else. That's basically what Ecos polls are turning into at this point. We got a story here on CTV about how expensive Christmas is becoming, the shopping, and the reasons for it. In this segment here, they briefly mentioned at the beginning tariffs to the job market and inflation, but then when you go on to listen to it, they basically only talk about the tariffs, despite, as Wealth Moose pointing out here, 90% of U.S. goods are duty-free, so why are Canadians so broke? That's the real question here. It's the inflation, the Liberal policies for the past 10 years.
I think things are really expensive right now, so I'm probably going to be cutting back a little bit this year, or budgeting well, or just making sure I'm buying things on like Black Friday.
The survey by BMO finding 41% plan to cut back on holiday spending and 15% budgeting to shell out more on gifts, anticipating higher prices due to tariffs.
It is concerning that, everything is more expensive.
Some said they plan to buy more Canadian-made products to avoid tariffs.
You hear that, the word tariff twice. This is selective editing. They had the word tariff, then they had a clip of the lady talking about things being expensive. Then they put the word tariff in again. We know what you guys are doing. This is liberal inflation for the majority of this. Let's get real here.
They started shopping early to avoid potential tariff-related price increases. And respondents on average plan to spend $2,300, which includes travel and food.
There's this general just concern from Canadians of just maybe needing to be really fiscally responsible over the holidays because there's still a little bit of uncertainty of where things are headed next year.
As for where Canadians may cut spending, holiday decorations, travel, and dining out were top items.
I'm finding the prices have gone up so much, just even food. So I think this year definitely spending a lot less on presents in general.
A separate survey recently found more than half of Canadians feel anxious about affording the holidays, and 61% don't feel financially prepared for them.
Meanwhile, a quarter of those surveyed by BMO said they plan to cut back on the number of people on their holiday gift list. Heather.
Yeah, this is selective editing to fearmonger Donald Trump again. Let's get real here. This is 10 years of Liberal policies that have put us in this position. Who's the guy who's currently in charge of this madness and won't fix it? Mark Carney, the guy here who can't cut a ribbon.
Oh mon Dieu! Oh man.
This is embarrassing. We got Melissa posting this one. Youth unemployment rate in Canada was 14.1% in October 2025. Meanwhile, what have we got here? $25 million going to youth employability in green sectors in Senegal. I've had this one on the channel before, far off rip-off. This is deplorable. As she's highlighted here, July 15th is when this started. This goes until 2032. They will continually be giving money to Senegal for youth employability in green sectors while our own youth unemployment rate is 14%. Got Dan Mazier posting this one. Mark Carney's health minister quietly lost $20 million worth of medical supplies from our national emergency stockpile. She hoped Canadians wouldn't notice. Now the minister refuses to say what vanished and why. Then put her in jail. If they don't want to tell us what's going on, they want to hide something, stick them in jail until it jogs their memory. Our country's entirely corrupt. So we're going to ping pong back and forth here. We got Donald Trump announcing that he will be dropping some tariffs on food because it's making food too expensive in America. They import a lot of stuff from Mexico, and that's why.
A late Friday decision by U.S. President Donald Trump rolling back tariffs on dozens of food products in the face of growing backlash from American consumers over the high cost of groceries.
Oh, on this side, I don't think it's going to have much of an effect at all, like it won't in the United States.
But this trade expert says it could have an impact on the greater trade war and negotiations down the line. Trump's shift in stance on lifting the duties from products like coffee, beef, and many others is about reducing prices for Americans.
If it's true for food, maybe it can be true for aluminum or steel as well. I mean, that's the reasoning here that he's opening the door to. Maybe we are setting the stage for some more rapid deal making.
Still, President Trump insists his tariffs aren't causing inflation.
The single greatest thing we have right now is the use of tariffs.
But some experts say this decision is a result of waning domestic support for his policies and their economic impacts.
Well, clearly what we're seeing here is the president is losing this battle. He's losing the narrative.
But the president stands by his trade policies.
Will you change anything else with tariffs?
I don't think it'll be necessary.
Not what Canada is looking to hear. Trade negotiations between the two countries remain stalled, and Canada's finance minister told a crowd of Canadian business leaders this week he doesn't believe trade agreements are popular right now.
The golden age, I would say, of multilateral agreement at least is probably behind us for the time being.
This is their excuse now. Trade agreements aren't popular, so that's why they're not getting them. Okay.
Largest multilateral trade agreement is the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. It is the reason Prime Minister Mark Carney insists Canada already has the best deal with the US on tariffs. But CUSMA is up for review in 2026.
The move to eliminate the tariffs came on Friday, fueled by a growing public push to address the rising costs of groceries. It's a sharp reversal in public policy by the U.S. president, who has been a strong proponent of the tariffs and has relentlessly pursued the implementation on global trade. But tariffs aren't the only issue on the table for Trump, as members from his own party are beginning to question the president's alleged ties with convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. So give us some context in terms of why these particular products are now being exempt from those U.S. tariffs.
Well, simply put, I think that President Trump is starting to get it. Taxing food will eventually lead to political punishment, especially as we get closer to the holidays. The American Thanksgiving is just around the corner. You do not want to punish your own people, and these tariffs are not only having an impact on Americans, but on everywhere around the globe. Essentially, consumers are being impacted. 34% of the consumer market is located in the United States. As soon as you start tariffing any product going into the U.S., you're affecting the whole world, including Canadians. And so this news that came out last night is good news for us Canadians, because a lot of food comes through the U.S. into Canada, and that will now be tariff free. So, and also, Canadian exporters into the U.S., a lot of products won't be tariffed anymore. So that's going to help a lot of sectors.
Just think about this. The first tariff win is Donald Trump backing down on tariffs. It's not Mark Carney actually getting any deal. The guy got 0 deals. And the first win we're getting is Trump pulling back because, well, Americans are starting to get angry that food prices have gone up.
It looks like the president is doing this to help affordability concerns amongst Americans. But will we see a difference here in Canada as well?
Likely, I would say. I'm thinking about products like bananas, citrus fruits, coffee, most packaged goods coming from the U.S. I mean, all of these products actually had ingredients coming into the U.S. Many of these ingredients were tariffs, so it's going to bring down.
Not bananas. Bananas have not gone up at all, thank goodness. Bananas didn't even go up after the world event. They've been the same price for a decade.
Cost. And so less pressure on food prices as we get closer to the holidays. So this is certainly good news for Americans, but it's also good news for Canadian consumers. And now Prime Minister Carney did understand that when you tax food at the border with counter tariffs, you eventually punish Canadians. So he eliminated all counter tariffs on September 1st. Now, for President Trump, it took 11 months for him to understand that. So it took.
They both did it. They both did it. Carney finally lifted that, as he said, September 1st. Canada's cost of living was already awful, and then Carney decides to make food more expensive for Canadians. It's a little different in America, where their cost of living is much lower.
11 months, we're here, so we'll benefit from that measure.
Sylvain, the president for months has said the tariffs were not fueling inflation, but can tariffs on food contribute to inflation?
Absolutely. The difference between food and everything else in the economy is that margins are extremely, extremely thin. So you just need a 10% at the border, a 25% at the border to make a huge difference. And I think that President Trump is starting to understand that.
So that is a small win for Canada. Unfortunately, that's not going to be what everyone's looking for. That's not going to save us. We have to get rid of the industrial carbon tax, all these other carbon taxes, and have the government stop spending so much money. They're creating inflation. inflation, they're increasing the money supply, lowering our buying power, and creating more profits for banks and bankers.
For the items that this applies to, that Trump will be removing tariffs from, how much could Americans see prices drop?
Well, that's a good question. Most of these items are coming from countries which were subject to and are subject to Trump's universal 10% tariff. So the tariffs are going to come down about 10% on nearly all these items because they're grown in countries like Costa Rica or, Colombia, wherever, South American countries for the most part, some African countries, cocoa. And, a reduction of tariff about 10%. That will reduce the prices at the food markets, grocery stores for these items, probably about 3%. So it'll be some reduction, but it will not be eye-popping.
Understood.
Meanwhile, what do we have Mark Carney doing? Well, he's trying to hide a bunch of his spending in capital when it's really operational spending. And now they're actually calling this out on CTV.
But I should point out, too, this government also wants to start reducing the deficit to GDP ratio starting next year. Once again, if its operational budget numbers are off by $100 billion, it's not going to bring down those numbers, Mike.
And those fiscal anchors were really at the heart of what some of the PBO was saying, and it could fall short of their goals, right?
That's right. And that is really important for a government that wants to, or says that it wants to be fiscally responsible at the same time that it wants to make this investment budget. It also Mark Carney used the term austerity at one point, right? It doesn't look like that right now when it all appears that we're sinking deeper and deeper into debt.
So what does he say, the parliamentary budget officer, of them being able to hit their targets or the financial sustainability of this budget?
Well, when you add in that $94 billion gap in capital investments and you shift it into operational budget, that's how the PBO is calculating. The PBO is saying not only will the Carney government not make its deficit targets in 3 years, it won't make it in 5.
Wow. Okay. That is something.
All they did was use creative accounting tricks to trick the population. So it looks like they're balancing the budget. They said they'll balance operational spending in 3 years. They're not doing that because obviously there's $94 billion that's not accounted for there. Thus, it's not being balanced. With all this going on, we got a pundit here on CTV saying that the NDP is going to vote to support Carney's budget because, well, despite Mark Carney's creative accounting, it's in the NDP's best interest to not go to an election right now.
Timing is everything. This comes out just before the weekend where we're going to have the vote in the House of Commons. We know how some people will vote. What do you think this does to anybody who may have been on the fence, specifically in the benches of the NDP?
I don't think it changes anything because I think that come budget day, people already knew that this was creative accounting. I mean, and what the parliamentary budget officer did today kind of reminded me of some of my golf buddies who somehow always managed to turn triple bogeys into a par on the scorecard. And
yeah, but this is not a laughing matter. They're hiding $94 billion. This is not hiding a double bogey at the golf course. This should be at the very least, should be an ethics violation.
Make it sound legit somehow. And so, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, what will matter, though, is how Canadians react to this budget. And by and large, they're fairly positive about the budget. And when you mentioned the NDP, I was...
Canadians are not fairly positive about the budget. If they are, it's because the filth that's been being pushed on the mainstream media. I mean, they've been attacking Poilievre nonstop every single day. The CBC run-ins and hit pieces on Pierre Poilievre instead of talking about the budget and hiding $94 billion. I'm amazed they're even talking about it here on CTV.
Struck by the figure that 90% of NDP voters, or likely NDP voters, support the local infrastructure spending. So is there a path here to convince voters that bringing down the government over this budget is a good idea for New Democrats? That's the thinking that's being done right now by the 7 NDP MPs.
Yeah, and honestly, Carl, I can't help but think that the way you made people laugh on this panel is a really good indication how all of us golf. Anybody who does golf on this panel, the whole take 6 strokes, call out 5, mark down 4. Sabrina, not that I know any of that, of course.
I mean, that's all fun and games if you're having fun with your buddies, but this is hundreds of billions of dollars we're talking here. $94 billion being hit in Canada's budget. People are sleeping in cars. This is not a laughing matter.
How do you think that this plays, to Carl's point, it might already be baked in terms of the vote, but do you think that this is that sort of moment of pause before it, or do you think that this won't influence it whatsoever? And maybe speak more precisely about like the stakes of Monday's vote going into this now.
I mean, I do think the stakes are really high, but I don't think that the Liberals are setting themselves up for an election. I don't think they want an election. And I certainly don't think really that the mood of the Canadian electorate or even the House of Commons is set to go to an election. So I think there is going to be some creative accounting perhaps in the House of Commons with attendance or not.
Creative accounting with the House of Commons and attendance? Is she going to recognize, though, Mark Carney's creative accounting? These pundits are unbelievable. It's amazing they can take this topic of the budget and creative accounting and hiding essentially $94 billion in the wrong area to say that they're balancing the budget and then make a joke about it. This is not a joke. This is not a laughing matter. If you look in the comments here, people are saying the same thing. This is disgusting. Let's lighten it up with golf gaslighting a-holes. Well, this is pathetic. NDP didn't learn from their last election, I guess. I see no humor in this. What Mark Carney is doing here is not funny at all.